Hey everybody. So I was just reviewing some of the ethical decisions or ethical dilemmas in my practicum agency. And so one of the ones was that sometimes the desires of the school and the desires of our job do not always mesh, and that can create ethical dilemmas. I think I talked about this last year in my practicum, but I guess I'll review it again since the instructions were to talk about an ethical dilemma. And I think this is the biggest one that I faced. But last year, there was a teacher who used more of a shame-based methods to try and get some tasks done at school. And sometimes our job as behavioral people who work with behavior specifically aren't always focused on getting tasks completed, but more like trying to help people move towards rehabilitation, even if that means small steps. So sometimes for a client, that doesn't look like just getting an assignment done right then and there when they're in crisis. And so this teacher specifically brought this kid's brother in to the session to kind of shame him because this kid's brother does not have challenges like he does. And so they brought him in and they started asking him questions like, oh, what do you do when you're in school? What do you think is the best stuff and everything? And it definitely did not get the results that they wanted. Because as we know, shaming people is not the best way to get them to move into appropriate behaviors or behaviors that you even want them to do. It's just not effective. And so that was really difficult for me because I didn't really quite know what to do in the situation because in a way the school does kind of consider themselves an authority figure over us because we are guests in their classroom to help with behaviors. Because we're not hired by the school, we're hired by the mental health agency and by the parents to be with the kid in school during the day, if that makes sense. And so it is a little bit of a different situation there. And so the sources that can help resolve the dilemma, well, I immediately reached out uh, to my managers and to the program director to talk about the situation to kind of come up with a way to help it. And when I was in the situation, I tried to lean more to positive things like, oh, what do you think your brother's strengths are? To like kind of try to move it in a more positive direction and not just be shame based. But it's kind of hard when you have several members of people who are in the school, like the teacher, the school's behavioral person, because there's only one of those people, and then like principals and such. And so, despite my efforts, it didn't really go the way it could have. And I don't necessarily think bringing the brother into the situation was the problem at all. It was the approach that they were using to do that. It was definitely not so good. But I did reach out to my manager and he just kind of was just like, you know what, just be open and honest with people. You can tell them, hey, I kind of think like take, some of the teachers aside or talk to them and advocate for your client and say, hey, these sort of things are not the way that, that aren't like are proven to not really our clinic are like sorry. I'm forgetting the word, but it's like are not is not proven in research to help with this kinds of a situation. Like these methods aren't really helpful. And let's try to change our approach and just kind of advocate for your client in that manner. And um, and just the factors that do need to be considered in that kind of a situation. It's just like we need to make sure that we're doing it in such a respectful way that we still are building rapport with the teachers and with the school, because we don't want necessarily to ruin those rapport or make them feel bad about the approach either, but just kind of use more psychoeducation and be like, hey, I think that this will be more effective as the behavioral specialist in the situation. And so who's responsible for like implementing the decision? It's kind of the worker who is with the client at the time. It's not necessarily going to be the program manager. It's not going to be the director or anything like that because they can't always be there and they can't because they are working with their own clients or having meetings with other people in the school and such. And so it's kind of up to the worker to kind of try to best navigate the situation and how to handle it and approach it. And then if there are questions, make sure to follow up with somebody or follow up with a person. And so evaluation and follow-up is just like maybe rechecking in with the teachers or rechecking in with the client, because even though there are consequences, you're supposed to support your client through the consequences, but you are not the consequence giver. So just checking in with people, I think, would be the way to approach that. And so anyways, that's just my thought processes on the different stages in solving ethical issues and dilemmas. So thanks for watching my video, guys. Bye.